Turned out to be another nice Sunday here in Colorado, just west of Colorado Springs, just south of Pikes Peak again. I decided to come out here and do another shooting demo video. I've got a couple firearms that I'll be using with and without suppressors. The first one I'll shoot is a 6 Hour 516, which is one of their piston-driven AR-15 platforms. And I'll be shooting that with and without the suppressor, and we'll be using a Silencerco Saker 7.62 on that one. I'll shoot a 9mm pistol to demonstrate that with the suppressor. We're going to use the H&K P30 and the Silencerco Octane 45 HD. And then we'll shoot a couple of rimfire firearms. One is going to be a Ruger 1022, and the other will be a Smith & Wesson Model 41 pistol. And both of those I'll be using the Silencerco SS Sparrow and the SWR Spectre 2 on both of those firearms. Once again, we're up in the mountains. There's not a terrible lot of wind right now, but you may have just heard some right there, and I'm sure there'll be some gusts of wind that come through here, so it's going to interfere with the sound quality. Just like the last one I did, this is not going to be the best suppressor demo video you've ever seen, but I'm just out here having some fun, so I figured I'd record it. So this is the first one we'll take a look at today. It's a 6 Hour 516 piston-driven AR-15 platform. What you see on this rifle, I've got a Trigagon ACOG installed with a LaRue mount, Magpul furniture, and then we've got the Silencerco Saker 7.62 installed on the muzzle. I'll be shooting this in a couple of different ways, suppressed and unsuppressed. Since this is piston driven, I'll also shoot it both in semi-auto and with the piston shut off so that it's a manual action. You have to cycle the bolt after each shot. There you really get it quiet. That's how it's going to be the most quiet with this setup. You also notice my red mitt down there. That's a silicone oven mitt. And if you're going to buy a suppressor, definitely go pick one of those up, some kind of an oven mitt, because these, especially on centerfire rifles, if you're putting, a couple mags down range, those things get hot. So that's definitely an accessory you want with your suppressor. So next we'll be shooting the 6 Hour 516 piston-driven rifle. I've got 6 rounds loaded. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot 3 rounds with the piston shut off so that I have to cycle the bolt manually, and then I'll turn the piston on and we'll shoot 3 rounds in semi-auto mode. All right, let's get the suppressor on there and see what it sounds like. Well, as you can see, just a few minutes later, the snow has stopped here, which is nice. I was getting a little tired of that. So we're back with the 6 Hour 516 piston-driven AR-15 platform. I have installed the Silencerco Saker 7.62 suppressor on this. And I went with a 7.62 because normally I use this thing on a 308 bolt-action rifle, but you can put this thing on your 5.56 rifles, and it really does well with suppression. And if you're really observant, you may have noticed that I changed the end cap on this from when I did the introduction video a few minutes ago. That's because I had the 308, the 30 caliber end cap on there. Well, you can get the 5.56 end cap, which means there's a smaller hole on the end. You should get better sound suppression. I also went with a different style of end cap for this. This has like a flash hider feature where the 308 is flat, and the only reason that I did that was so that I had a visual and tactile indication of when this 5.56 end cap was installed, because I do not want to have this installed and then shoot that 308 through it, because that big bullet going through that small hole is going to be bad news. So that's why I went with this. I really don't think it needs that flash hider feature. So we'll pop a few rounds through this. It's going to be 6 rounds, just like it was unsuppressed. I'm going to shoot 3 rounds initially in semi-auto, and then we'll shut the piston off and shoot 3 rounds with the cycle, or the action being cycled manually, just so we can get the utmost in suppression, see how quiet this thing can really get. So let's take a look at it. Wow. So that's the first time I've shot this rifle without hearing protection with the suppressor on. I gotta say, I don't know if a lot of you shot AR-15s. I'm sure a lot of you had. If you're watching this video, they're actually a pretty loud firearm. With that suppressor on there, this thing is really nice to shoot. Even on semi-auto, you're going to get some noise coming out of the action here, and you'll get some noise from the action cycling, but I didn't have any ringing in the ears, anything. It was very comfortable. The only thing bad with this AR-15 shooting the suppressor, or shooting with the suppressor, you get a lot of back pressure from that silencer, as you do with any kind of silencer, and all that gas gets pushed back and actually bleeds out of where your charging handle is here and stuff. So as you shoot more and more, you get a lot of smoke and stuff that gets blown back in. So you definitely want to have eye protection on if you're shooting an AR-15 suppressed. You should always have eye protection on, but here it's really important. With the piston shut off and the thing having to cycle it every time, it's super quiet. I would equate it to shooting a .22 rifle with hypersonic ammo. That's about what it sounded like to me. No ringing in the ears. That's a really fun setup, really fun to shoot. I'm shooting 62 grain projectiles through this right now, and you may have seen me reach into my pocket when I went to turn that piston on and off or whatever. And what this is, it's a spent 5.56 shell casing, and SIG made this to where there's a hole in this piston on the little part where you turn it to shut it off or adjust the amount of gas it's getting through. And it's made for the neck of a 5.56 round. So you stick it in there, and you can turn that. And the piston actually has 4 settings. There are 3 settings that allow various amounts of gas to go through. One of them's for a suppressor, one of them's for non-suppressor, and then one of them's supposed to be there like if your gun is just really dirty and it's not cycling, you can crank it up and really get some gas moving in there to cycle it. And then of course the 4th setting is to shut off the piston entirely and make this guy basically a manual action rifle. But yeah, this if you're going to go with a suppressed AR-15, I'd go with a piston myself. That's what I did. This is a pretty neat setup. This is a pretty fun gun to shoot. And the last gun we're going to be taking a look at today is a 9mm suppressor host. I'm using the H&K P30. This one has an LEM trigger. If you don't know what an LEM trigger is, it gives you a consistent trigger pull every time. It's not the traditional double action, single action, where the first shot is a hard pull where you both cock the hammer back with the trigger pull and it releases to fire the gun. And then subsequent shots are single action only, where the hammer's already cocked back by the slide. This one, it's kind of a strange trigger, but once you get used to it, it's really nice. I like it. This will be shot with the Silencerco Octane 45 HD. I'll shoot both 115 and 147 grain bullets through this one. You can see it also has a rail accessory here. This is a Crimson Trace. I think the model number is CRM203. It's a green laser, which is also pretty neat. So we'll put a few rounds through it so we can see what a 9mm sounds like suppressed. So the first gun we'll be shooting out here is the HK P30. I'll be shooting this unsuppressed, 10 rounds. It'll be 5 rounds of 115 grain, 5 rounds of 147, and they'll alternate. The first round will be 115 grains, then 147, and down through the magazine like that. You may notice I've thrown on a sweatshirt since I did the introduction to today's shooting video. And welcome to the mountains. You might be able to see there's some snow flurries falling. Like the temperature just kind of dropped on me pretty suddenly, and we got a little precipitation. So we'll roll with it. So we're back with the HK P30. This time I've installed the Silencerco Octane 45 HD suppressor. We're going to do the same as we did in the last shooting, in that it'll be 10 rounds, 5 rounds of 115 grain, 5 rounds of 147 grain, and they'll alternate starting with 115 grain. I don't think I've shot this one without hearing protection with the suppressor, so I pulled one out just so I can see what it sounds like. So let's take a look. There's a very, very significant difference between those two rounds to the shooter's ear here. Those 115 grains, they're breaking the sound barrier. I get a crack with those. The 147s are very muffled, very easy to shoot, not hard on the ears at all. I don't have any ringing or anything going on here though, so I don't know that I'd shoot a lot of those 115s without hearing protection in the suppressor, but those 147s, I could shoot those all day. Those are perfectly fine. Now this gun is not set up to use with the suppressors from the factory like with the FMP45 Tactical I shot last time. That thing was set up from the factory for a suppressor. It had tall sights, threaded barrel, everything. This is an HK factory threaded barrel, but I had to buy it after the fact. So since these suppressors or these sights are not raised, I'm actually shooting through the can, which means the can blocks my sight picture here. So you got to kind of just guess a little bit on where stuff is. It sounds difficult, but you actually get used to it. I haven't done it a lot with this, but I have with my SIG Sauer P220, and at a reasonable distance, I can shoot pretty well shooting through the can on that one. So this is a good shooter. This is a good suppressor host if you're looking for a 9mm suppressor host. This is another firearm we'll be looking at today. This is a Ruger 1022. This one's been pretty heavily modified, so it's really the only Ruger part on this thing is the receiver. This has a Magpul Hunter X22 stock. The barrel on it is a Primary Weapon Systems PWS carbon fiber wrapped tension barrel. If you watch my other video, it's the same barrel that's on the PWS T3 Summit rifle that I shot in that one. But this one I've installed on this Ruger receiver. The trigger this is a Ruger factory trigger group, but I sent it to Brimstone Gunsmithing and they did a tier 2 trigger job on it. It's phenomenal. Well, I think it was like 70 bucks. It's worth every penny. You'll see the magazine looks a little funky there. I installed a Tactical Solutions slam base plate on there. It's spring loaded so that when you release it, it pops out of there. I don't think they make those anymore. I picked several of them up and they're really nice to have. It's going to be shot with a Nikon Pro Staff rimfire scope, 3-9 power. And then I think that's an EGW base that I've got on there. I can't remember that for sure. And then it's loopholed scope rings on there. The red parts that you see, the trigger, the release, and the charging handle. I'm pretty sure those are Rimfire Technologies. And then I've also got a Power Custom titanium bolt release there too. So it's pretty heavily modified. This thing it's quite a shooter. It's a really nice little rifle. I like this one a lot, and we'll be shooting it with both the SWR Spectre 2 and the Silencerco SS Sparrow. And then we'll shoot, I think I've got high velocity. I think I'll be shooting CCI mini mags and standard velocity through this one, both suppressed and unsuppressed. So now we've got the Ruger 1022. We're going to shoot 10 rounds through this unsuppressed. There'll be 5 rounds of standard velocity, 5 rounds of hyper velocity CCI mini mags. It'll start out, the first round will be standard velocity, and then they'll alternate back and forth after that. So we got the Ruger 1022 again, same drill as before, 10 rounds, 5 standard velocity, 5 hyper velocity mini mags. It'll start off with the standard velocity, which should be quieter, and then it'll alternate back and forth. This time I have the SWR Spectre 2 suppressor installed. See, my magazine actually fell out on the last round there. I guess I didn't have it seated well enough. I made it through all 10 rounds though, but that's a little spring-loaded thing, so it just must have had too much tension on there. I didn't give it a very good slap when I put it in there, so that's my fault. I think it was pretty evident. I know it was to me. It should be on the video. Those standard velocities through a silencer, that's movie quiet. Like that's as quiet as you're going to get with a silencer, except you can get a little quieter if you watch my other video, the PWS, the manual action. With a manual action 22 subsonic through a silencer, that's as quiet as you're going to get. So this one you're going to get some noise because you got the cycling of the action, but yeah, pretty fun to shoot. And this particular gun is a heck of a tack driver too. Back once again with the Ruger 1022 rifle, same as the previous 2 shootings. We're going to have 10 rounds, 5 rounds standard velocity, 5 rounds hypersonic. The first round will be subsonic. Difference here is I've installed the Silencerco SS Sparrow on here. What I have found in my personal, I've shot my 22s a lot with the suppressors. I have found that the SS Sparrow, for me, it seems to work, or it seems to be quieter on rifles, where the Spectre 2 seems to be quieter on pistols. The difference is negligible. I seriously doubt you'd be able to hear the difference in these videos, but I've kind of noticed that as I've been shooting. I gave the mag a good slam this time, so hopefully it won't come popping out. So, see what she sounds like. Oh, I also took out my hearing protection. I forgot to when I shot it last time with the silencer. You definitely do not need hearing protection with this setup with the silencer. You just don't need it. So I'm sure you can hear the difference between those hypersonic and subsonic rounds once again. You know, the hypersonics, when they break that sound barrier, it is quite a bit of noise. If you really want to get your 22 quiet, those standard velocities through a silencer is the way to do it. But still, even with the hypersonics, like I don't need the hearing protection. And I don't like shooting 22 rifles with like CCI Mini-Mags hypersonic ammo without the silencer and no hearing protection. To me, that gets, it starts hurting my ears after a while. But with the silencer, either way, you're going to be fine with it. So yeah, 22s with silencers, they're awesome. They're a ton of fun to shoot. Here's another one I'll be taking a look at today. This is a fun one. This is one of my favorite suppressor hosts that I've got. It's a Smith & Wesson Model 41. I bought this Clark barrel for it, and the barrel came from the factory threaded. I didn't like the way the threads were set up on it though, so I sent it to the guy in Minnesota I used to thread my non-threaded weapons, and he rethreaded it for me, and it's really nice. It has a Seymour red dot sight on it. With CCI standard velocity ammo, this thing is just a tack driver. So I'm only going to shoot standard velocity through it. They don't recommend to shoot high velocity ammo through this gun. So we'll just be doing that. I will shoot it unsuppressed and with each of the suppressors you see there, the Silencerco SS Sparrow and SWR Spectre 2. So the last one we'll be taking a look at today is the Smith & Wesson Model 41 pistol with the Clark threaded barrel. I'll be shooting 15 total rounds through this. These 5 will be unsuppressed, and then I'll shoot 5 each through both of the suppressors, the SS Sparrow and the Spectre 2. I'll only be using standard velocity through this because it's what Smith & Wesson recommends. So let's see how it does. It didn't cycle after that first round. I will say, I shoot this pistol a lot, and I don't clean it very regularly, which is bad. I've actually gotten kind of bad about all my guns, not cleaning them as much as I should. But yeah, I'm not surprised that first round didn't quite cycle the slide all the way. So we'll throw the suppressors on there and take a look at it. So we got the Smith & Wesson Model 41 again. This time it has the Silencerco SS Sparrow suppressor attached, and I'm going to do 5 rounds of CCI standard velocity through it. That one always puts a smile on my face. I don't know why I have this hearing protection in, because that was not even remotely necessary. Yeah, let's throw the Spectre 2 on there and see how it does. So we got the Smith & Wesson Model 41 again, this time with the Spectre 2, SWR Spectre 2 suppressor installed. I actually put 10 rounds in the mag this time because I know I'm going to want to shoot a few more through this, so I'll probably shoot a few more mags after this. God, oh my God, that's such an awesome gun to shoot. There's just, the noise is just, all you hear is the bullet hitting the target down there. There's nothing going on here. It's just amazing. You see I shot 5 rounds into a target, and then I've got a clay pigeon set up down there I was shooting the next 5 rounds at, and I've put a couple through there. So I'll go ahead and load up another mag and shoot at that clay pigeon some more. So I loaded up another 10 rounds, Smith & Wesson Model 41 with the SWR Spectre 2, CCI standard velocity rounds. Shoot a few more and have some fun. I don't know if you can see, I think the second round finally blew that clay pigeon up, but this is just, I cannot get over how much fun this one is to shoot. Setting this particular gun up, it was, I had it in mind when I first bought my suppressors. I was like, I had this Model 41 for a couple of years. I was like, you know what? You don't see Model 41s wearing or using a suppressor very often. I'd really love to set that up. And then when I found this Clark barrel that had been threaded, I got a pretty good deal on it used. And it costs a little bit of money to get it all set up because I sent it to my guy to have it re-threaded so the threads would be a little bit better to engage the O-ring on these. Both of these cans have an internal O-ring, and if you cut them to spec, per Silencerco spec, there's a little nub at the end of the threading that engages that O-ring. It helps keep everything cleaner, and it also helps keep the silencer from getting loose as you shoot. But this was money well spent. Of all my suppressed handguns, this is my favorite. I shoot it all the time, almost any range session. I take this thing with me. And I think it's so much fun because the Model 41 has been around for decades. It's an old design, and to have it with like this new twist to it with the red dot in the suppressor, it's a lot of fun. And the open slide design here actually kind of helps with all the gunk and stuff. It helps blow some of that stuff out. So I have a couple of Ruger Mark IIs that I also have set up for suppressors, and those things, the whole chamber's just encased, and so it just gets absolutely filthy in there. And those things jam up much more easily than this Model 41. I know it didn't cycle there on that first round unsuppressed, but I hadn't shot this for a while, and it's pretty dirty, but man, once it got going, no issues at all. This one, Model 41, ton of fun. Really, really like it. As you can see, I'm kind of shooting at a bit of like a dump or something here. It's kind of sad because they have these areas off in the mountains up here. Once you get into Teller County, which is just west of Colorado Springs, El Paso County, you can go up in the mountains and shoot, and you just pull off on the side of the road and shoot. And I hate this because obviously people do not pick up after themselves. I mean, we got a truck topper here. There's all kinds of garbage. I mean, I clean up after myself. I just don't see why people don't do that because this is really nasty. But I kind of went out there and was scouring for some stuff. I found a full can of Coors Light and a full can of orange soda. I shot those. I kind of wish I'd filmed them because those were pretty cool. But I figured I might do those videos I did. I was so far away kind of from the camera. I figured I'd do like a POV type of thing with the Smith & Wesson Model 41. I'll put a few rounds into that tire that's up there. Just maybe you can get a better feel for how this actually sounds from the shooter's perspective. So this is 10 rounds. It's the Smith & Wesson Model 41 once again. This is with the SWR Spectre 2, and it's got the Seymour red dot sight on there. So let's put a few rounds through it, see how it sounds from here. So that was 5 rounds into the tire. It's hitting that steel rim, and that's all you hear. So I'll shoot into that down tree right next to it and see what that sounds like. Yeah, it's just, that's all you're hearing is the bullet impact the target. It is, and this thing, man, this thing is a tack driver. I just love this gun. So cool. I had 5 loose standard velocity rounds sitting there, so I figured why not go ahead and shoot them. Can you tell I like this gun? I don't know, might be difficult to tell. So much fun.